And officially, that's how we start the first episode of Big Talk with Slender Boy. It's been a long wait. I'm excited. Before we start, let me just tell you a story. It's just a story, a young story about my guest for today. I remember it was a decade ago at Olympia Park Stadium. Yeah, at Olympia Park Stadium. That's about a decade ago. I think there was a launch of something. It's either a newspaper or something like that. But he'll get to tell us more about that. But before we start officially, let me just give a brief profile of who this gentleman is. He considers himself a hardworking journalist, a communication specialist. He worked for various media houses, both in print and electronic. Also started a community newspaper, called Naledi, based in Rustenburg. You'll tell us. I'm not sure it's the one that is existing or not, but it was covering the whole Northwest province. And he also assisted in starting other media houses like Excellent Media. Never heard of it. You'll tell more us about that. And also contributed in the success of Listening News and the Tlhabile Community Radio. Earlier on we spoke about it. The Tlhabile Community Radio doesn't work anymore. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. Ananias Ndlovu.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. What an introduction. Thank you.
I'm over the moon. I thought maybe there's something that I omitted besides the awards because that's the conversation.
You omitted a lot.
A lot?
A lot.
Wow. Maybe you want to reflect on some of the things.
Yeah, we'll do. We'll have a long conversation for today. But yeah, I'm Ananias Ndlovu, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
I'm a journalist, a communicator, and an entrepreneur, business person. Yeah.
And then you are also the founder of Northwest Media Awards.
Yes.
And then when did that start, the idea? But anyway, let's reserve this for later on because I think that's the most important thing that I want to talk about. But for now, let's talk about the platforms that you've worked for. Print media, that's Listening, that's Naledi. Which one is no longer existing?
Between Listening News and Naledi News, the one started first is Listening News.
Listening News.
Yeah, it was based in Kunyod. Yeah, so now it's no longer there. We have Naledi News. Yeah, so I was working for Listening News, but I owned Naledi News. So that's the difference. Listening was my former employer.
Talk about your bread being buttered on both sides.
Yeah, the thing is, if I can tell you a little story about the whole situation, Listening News is the one introduced me to Daily. Because I worked a lot of time I spent working for Daily.
It's not only Daily, I think there's 3 more newspapers that you work for, or you are writing for them.
I wrote for various newspapers.
Okay.
My first newspaper I wrote for, it was the Star newspaper.
Wow.
In the 90s.
90s?
Yes, I started writing for the Star newspaper.
That was a predominantly white newspaper?
Yeah, that was the biggest by then. I was handpicked from our institution. They said, I know we need you.
Wow.
And I went to Joburg. I was studying at it was TNT then. It became TNG, it's now TUT.
Oh yeah.
So while we were there, I was not one of the brightest, but they picked me up and I went to the Star newspaper. I worked for the Star newspaper and I said, guys, thank you very much. You know, those days we call that thing experiential training. Yeah, but I went back to school to graduate. Then from there, I went to Tlhabile Community Radio Station. And we started the Tlhabile Community Radio Station. It was late 90s because I joined the Tlhabile Community Radio Station in 1999. Yes, it was 1999. I worked in 2000, 2001. And I left Letlhabile.
As a what? You worked as a what? As a journalist, as a reporter?
You know, one thing about community radio station, I will tell you something very interesting. They don't care whether you have qualifications or not. They put you wherever they want to
but
put
I think
you.
maybe that's a story for another day, because it's not only community radio, other platforms, even big platforms anyway.
Yeah, because I remember I had a diploma in journalism, and my news editor was only a reporter, and my news editor was only having standard 10, grade 12. So they hired this gentleman, Brakrai. Brakrai came and he said, guys, everyone, I want to see your CVs. He was the news station manager, the new boss, and he said, I want to see all your CVs. And he said, but guys, this is not possible. Calvin, you can't be the boss here, Ananias. You have only mentored this guy's having a diploma in journalism. And he swapped things, and I started to be the news editor. And yeah.
But it was not easy for you to leave.
No,
after the switch, it was not easy for you.
It was not, but because he was there, we worked very, very smoothly with him and management. The problem was the board right there. I used to tell people when I left the radio station in 2001, I looked at it and I said, community radio station,
Pack your bag.
And I packed up my bags and I went home, and I was staying at home, unemployed then. And they kept coming to my house, and I left.
So you ran.
And I ran far away, and I ended up in Rustenburg.
Running like Molefe. Molefe don't run.
Molefe don't run, yeah. And I ended up in Rustenburg, and someone told me, but Rustenburg, there's a station called Mafisa FM, Radio Mafisa. And I said, guys, I'm done with community radio station. Let me tell you a funny thing. And I started working as a hawk. Rustenburg takes it. I was selling bananas, apples, all of these things. And I was hustling, making sure I get money for CV, applying at the mines and all these things. And while I was sitting at my stall, platform 13, when you get Pretoria taxis, platform 13, I was sitting there, and this guy came and was passing by with the newspapers.
A qualified journalist.
A qualified journalist.
On the street.
A guy from the Star newspaper, a guy who interviewed Nelson Mandela.
What?
So I was selling my bananas there, and I just crashed this thing about Batubakari, you know. I just told myself, I'm going ahead with it. And this guy was just selling newspaper. And I said, hey man, I need this paper. Where are these guys based? And he said, New York. And I looked at the address. And I rushed to New York, same time. I left my store and I went to New York. And I knocked and said, guys, here's a journalist looking for a job. Funny enough, the guys who are running the Selling newspaper was Levi Mokwele and Enrique Dire. I knew the guys from the media sector while I was at the community radio station. And I said, Ananias, but we know you. What are you doing in Rustenburg? You are supposed to be in Brent.
Come here.
And said, guys, I'm looking for Emma, you don't have to look. Come and assist. We need you here. And that's where I started getting contacts, knowing people around, because I was new in Rustenburg, remember, I didn't know anyone.
And not to cut you there, but I want to go back to the issue Nelson Mandela. Take us through that interview. What was happening? Because I think that's more interesting.
You know, there was this spokesperson, Patsman Katla.
Okay.
He was the spokesperson for Nelson Mandela.
Okay.
So he called the newsroom one day, and fortunately I was the one who picked up the phone. And when he asked, he said, I'm giving you a tip. Nelson Mandela is getting married.
To by the
Krasa.
Oh, Krasa.
And we're saying, wow. And you know, when it comes to editorial meetings, every time in a newspaper you sit down and the news editor or assignment editor will just say, Slender Boy, what do you have for us today? And you remember newsroom is an open play. And you must say, hey, I'm working with those guys in Hillbro. Hey, you've been working on that story for many years, for many months, for many. And they will shout at you.
Give us something.
And when you see they shouting, the top dogs, the top journalists, the senior journalists, hiding under the tables when it's just Wendy Makanya when he's there, and you just said, "Oh, what's happening?"
Zakar.
Yes, yeah. and at the end of the day, guys, what's your story? I'm still new and intern and all this stuff, but Nelson Mandela is getting married. Where did you get that? Are you crazy? I said, no, it's a team. It's a team. And we started working on the story. They assembled the team and we worked on the story. It was true. We broke the story and we got invited at some stories of him when he was the man.
So you actually touched him, handshake and stuff like that. That's what you did.
No. You know, our journalism is a little bit different with this one now. Because the we are doing our stories. But now, journalists, now we take selfies with what? No, we never took some picture because we didn't have those cell phones then.
Besides that,
but I had a very good cameraman. So your camera, you won't say, take me a picture with Nelson Mandela. Those were rare things that we were not used to it. We see them now after interviewing a mayor. You say, let's take a picture with the mayor. So when the mayor got in the accident or unfortunately passed away, you say, you post the picture. I know the person. So in our real journalism, we don't do that. We don't do that because of if I decide to take a picture with you, I become a fan. So in the media industry, it does not work like that. I can't be a fan of a someone.
Because now you have to strike the balance of professionalism.
I must be professional.
So at this time, you are deep into print media and stuff. So you get to own your own newspaper. Is it before or after?
No, what happened? We worked on Naledi News and it became very big. And I started working. I left Naledi News. Started working for Daily Sun. Daily Sun was still new. We're the one who started Daily Sun. I was a freelancer here.
And then I was making those stories with topologies and stuff.
Funny enough, I think I've worked for Daily Sun for more than 5 years, but I don't recall writing a topology story. I know I wrote about a monkey at Gwenja village that was terrorizing the community with a chain. I remember.
But that's a common story.
I remember writing the similar story, monkey story in Maboluka, and the other one called me. This lady called me and said to me, "I've got a story, and my mother is a witchcraft." It's a wish, not a witchcraft. It's a wish. And I was like, what? Madam Mama and I don't do such stories. But Daily Sun do such stories and said, let me give it a try. Where's one thing in Phuket? We're not in Tlhabane. And so, why are you saying this? No, there's like topologies and zombies at my place. And I said, I want to see that. And he said, no, but I can't take you at my mother's home because it's very dangerous. I said, no. Hey, I'm a journalist. Let me go and see those zombies. I want to see them. I have to take pictures of zombies and topologies. I will break the world record. Be the only one who's sending a topology picture.
You kind of like reminded me of that guy, the one who was working on the story of that lady who was killing 9 babies. What do they call them?
Oh, Tembisa 10.
Tembisa 10. Who's that name? Who's that guy? Okay, it's not important anyway.
Yeah. So he refused. Yes, Big Rambe. She refused for us to go to the mother's place, but she wanted us to write a story based on her only perspective. And we said, no, guys, in the media we don't do that. We need both sides of the story. And another story that made me fought with my bosses at Daily Sun, it was this guy, the very same village who said he was from heaven. He met Jesus in heaven. And he came back and said, I must write that story. And I was like, and it was an old man. And I said, but Daily Sun is read by more than 5 million people. And for one, I don't believe that story. So how do I write story for 5 million people and say this guy is from heaven, whereas I don't believe that?
She must have met the cow, I think.
But they sent the team from Joburg and they interviewed him. They did the story, and lucky enough, my pilot was not there because there were stories. If I don't believe on something, I don't do it.
Okay. Now back to Naledi. I want to go back to, because there is a reason why I'm driving you to owning a newspaper, because I want you to break it down for us, because you spoke about the Lekhabile FM, and then it does no longer exist. I think it's the only one. I'm not sure. It's Lekhabile, and I think there's two in the Northwest that don't exist anymore. These platforms, the print platforms, I want to talk about the demise of these platforms and comparing it to other platforms, for lack of a better word, white media platforms. These ones, they die easily, they run down, and these ones, they don't. Why Naledi News did not make it, and the community radio station that you came from? What do you think is the problem? I want us to address that, because I think it's a very big issue. Because when you have a media house like that not functioning anymore, I think we are taking down careers and also taking food from people. I'm thinking.
You know, if I can put it, explain it this way. You see, when it comes to print newspapers, we call them, especially Naledi News, we call them small commercial media for newspapers. So it's privately owned. Okay. It's my newspaper. I can close it today. I can hire and fire. So I don't want to talk more about listening news, because I don't know what happened at the end. Because when I left it was booming. It was fine.
Because you've been around long enough, and you know the challenges that all these platform face, print, electronic, and other things. Maybe you can just address that as a whole, not specifically a certain organization.
Yeah, I was explaining that, saying when it comes to print, it's small commercial media. So you have your own, you decide, you have your own staff, your own everything. So when it goes to community radio station, that's a community project. That is why they are non-profit making organizations.
What's the problem? Let's cut to the chase.
So those community radios, according to ICASA rules and laws, they must have a board of directors. They must have management. They must have staff.
Talking both about print and also...
I just want to share the differences. So in print, I'm Ananias Ndlovu. I'm the publisher, I'm the editor, I'm the founder, I'm the journalist, I'm the owner, and all these things. So what I need to have is compliance with your SARS. If I do business with government, there must your CSDs and all this, you must be compliant. Then you get business adverts and all these things. So they come into your business coffers, and you work on a profit on all these things. But when it comes to community in radio stations, now they are privatized. We did a research about
privatized how?
I'm explaining. We did a research, and the research was saying to us what makes these community radio stations to malfunction, because not all of them are doing great. Few are doing great. No, most of them is a problem, because you find one person is a bot, it's a station manager, it's a marketing manager, it's a program director, it's a news editor, it's a reporter, it's sales. One man show. You go to another community radio station, the station manager is this one, the marketing manager is a wife, the program manager is a girlfriend, the news editor is a cousin.
Sounds like one of the municipalities in Masterberg that was much talked about. I don't know if you remember that municipality.
Which one?
I don't want to say.
Okay. So that's the thing. So according to we must have board of directors which are elected annually. Each and every community registration must have an annual general meeting, what we call an AGM, every year, annual general meeting. Every year they must select their board. A board must appoint a station manager. A station manager is running the station, daily running of the station. It meets with the board once a month or twice, and they discuss the problems of the radio station. And so what's happening in our community it does not work like that.
But you know, in platforms like this, I just want to check, where does the community fit in this whole I don't know what to say, the dimension or whatever. You know, the community, what power do they have and how can they exercise that power? Because I believe that they have power, but they just don't.
You know, I was recently appointed as a member of Moral Regeneration Committee of the Prophets. One of our mandates is to get communities involved, just to revive the communities. Because what's happening now, the communities are not involved. What you see, I'll give you an example with Mafisa even now. We've got 2 station managers, 2 boards,
I used to read that, so please don't make example about this, because now my former managers, and we're in good standing, they will think now I'm attacking them. You know,
it's a good example because why I'm saying that, because when the first board members were conducted at the AGM, the hall was packed. And the second board members conducted the AGM, the hall was packed with community members. So both guys had packed community. So we have rented community members. We go and rent people, we buy them whatever, then they come, they fill the hall, they elect whoever they want to elect. So there's no longer like legitimacy where you see people come and say, I vote for Slender Boy to be the chairperson of the board. No, it's not. If I want to be a board of whatever radio station, I go to the community, I buy the community. I mobilize, I buy them, I do whatever, then they come. I even transport them. So it's a problem. We have few radio stations, so like you were talking about the community radio station was shut down because of non-compliance. So people, even political structures now, they've seen a loophole. They are now taking over this community radio station. They are owned by certain political organizations. We are leading to elections in 2000. We are leading to community elections next year, 2024 elections. You will see how they hijack this community radio station to push their own agenda.
I don't think.
Okay.
Oh.
Everything was flourishing. Make up artists their life. Make up artists their life. But one was a level opportunity.
You know that you speak.
You know that. Okay, we're not that one. Oh, I know it. I've always seen. A newspaper got some green, who said, what is the community? I know the same. Okay, currently I know this guy is just messing up. Who's there? Everything was flourishing.
You know the newspaper. You know the newspaper.
Oh, I don't know the newspaper. Oh, I know it. I've always seen a newspaper got some green. I don't know it's a community. I know the same. Okay. Currently I know this guy is just messing up. Who's there? And then fails, and then you think running him.
Wait. I end up in the council, I know
Jachere.
I get to look at you. One person newspaper, I put politics.
Also, who failed? What are you failure happen?
So no, not necessarily who failed. The thing for what I know.
So they found the Mercedes.
They had a good deal. Let me just
They came in.
whatever I know. But I couldn't get it was city prices. So, but I don't know the contract. What went wrong? A contract.
That's why if you had an opportunity to run such a successful business, and then it fails, and then you think that you can move to another position, that's one of the counselor. How can we have confidence?
I think maybe issue sorry. They don't want to pay, they just want
money.
Just
so they found the Mercedes established, and then they came in.
But that one
it's fine.
I would say Baba not but the very same thing they platinum platinum clear how about first start the go my visa then we can discipline guy brother has a Kenyan
white people
we hear it I said tell you na ba monoka yona
but that one what information is because
it's fine, it must be recorded.
Family stuff and it's a private community radio station that we can, but that's a private thing. No, it's a private business. So you interfere with if it was like my visa, motoring, then we can talk whatever set about time. It's a private to tell a guy
yeah, but I get we are talking about the main industry. We are like a really commentator. You can start anytime. Conversational.